I tried to diet today. Started with a salad, then looked at the cake. The cake called my name louder. Ended up eating the entire cake. Alone. Salad is still sad and lonely in the fridge. Maybe tomorrow. Today was meant to be a fresh start, but temptation whispered sweetly in my ear. As I savored each bite of the cake, guilt began to creep in. Yet it felt so satisfying. The salad, my noble intention, remained untouched, waiting patiently for another day when I might choose better. The slice of cake lingered on my lips, a sweet reminder of my moment of weakness. As I glanced back to the fridge, I couldn't help but feel a pang of regret for the salad that now felt like a forgotten dream. Yet as the sun began to set, I pondered my choices. Tomorrow I promised myself would be different. Perhaps that salad and I would finally find common ground. With dawn breaking, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The salad awaited its second chance, ready to transform my cravings into a wholesome beginning. I was at the grocery store trying to grab a box of cereal from a high shelf. I stretched and stretched, but it was just out of reach. Suddenly, an employee appeared next to me, saw my struggle, and wordlessly reached up to grab the box for me. I stammered a thank you, feeling incredibly short and slightly incompetent, as they just nodded and walked away. It was a brief, silent interaction, but for a moment, I felt like a helpless child. I went to open a wine bottle without a corkscrew and ended up shooting the cork across the room, hitting a waitress. Everyone was silent and I was mortified. Once I tried to impress my crush by cooking dinner. I accidentally used salt instead of sugar in the dessert. When she took a bite, her face twisted like she'd tasted a lemon dipped in vinegar. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the plate. Safe to say my chef skills are now a legend, but not the good kind. Trying to look cool at the park, I attempted a skateboard trick I saw on YouTube. Instead of nailing it, I face-planted right in front of a group of kids. One of them asked, "Are you okay, mister?" I just smiled and said, "Yeah, practicing my dramatic entrances." Not sure if that helped or made it worse. I tripped and fell in a crowded place. It wasn't a graceful fall. It was a full-in-arms, flailing everything, flying out of my hands situation. I managed to get up as quickly as possible, pretending it didn't happen, but I know everyone saw. I was stalking my crush's social media late at night, feeling like a secret detective. Suddenly, I accidentally liked a photo from 3 years ago, super old and embarrassing. My heart stopped. I quickly unliked it, but I was sure they got a notification. I spent the next hour nervously checking if they noticed. The worst part, my friends found out and teased me non-stop. Next time, I'll try to be more careful. Or maybe just don't stalk at all. During a gym workout, I tried to impress everyone by lifting heavier weights. Mid-lift, I realized I had no idea how to put them down safely. I ended up dropping them with a loud bang, startling the whole room. Everyone stared, and I wished I could disappear into the treadmill instead. I accidentally texted a long, emotional message to the wrong number. It was meant for my best friend, but I sent it to a complete stranger. I realized my mistake almost immediately and sent a follow-up text apologizing profusely, but the damage was done. I spent the next hour anxiously wondering if they read it, and if so, what they thought. I laughed at a joke I didn't understand, loudly. Everyone looked at me weird. Then someone asked, "Why is that funny to you?" I panicked and said, "Because bananas." There was silence. Just deep, painful silence. I thought I was alone in the elevator. Started singing opera, loudly. Doors opened. My boss was standing there. He applauded. I died inside. I was 19 and madly in love. He always said I was the one. Then he invited me to his family party. I thought he would propose. Instead, he introduced his new girlfriend, and I was just sitting there holding a bowl of potato salad. At a party, I confidently walked up to what I thought was the bathroom door, but ended up opening a closet filled with cleaning supplies. The host caught me mid-shuffle and said, "Lost, or just looking for a mop dance partner?" I laughed nervously and quickly exited, deciding it was best to stick to the snack table for the rest of the night. Yesterday I waved at someone I thought I knew. They looked confused and I realized, wrong person. Instead of playing it cool, I panicked and pretended to stretch. Then I tripped over my own foot and dropped my coffee. Now I'm known at the cafe as Stretch Guy. Fame comes in strange ways. At first I felt humiliated, but as my friends started calling me Stretch Guy, I realized it was all in good fun. The barista even joined in making jokes behind the counter. I could hear laughter every time I walked in, and strangely, I began to embrace my newfound fame. It turned out that being an accidental comedian had its perks. I felt a sense of confusion creep over me as I stepped into what I thought was my kitchen. It was early morning and I was still half asleep, groggily looking for my coffee maker. I knew exactly where everything was supposed to be. But the countertops looked different. The mugs were in the wrong spot, and there was a strange smell. Definitely not my usual coffee aroma. I blinked, trying to clear the fog from my brain. Why did this feel so unfamiliar? I reached for the refrigerator door, pulling it open to grab the milk. The contents inside were completely unknown to me. I stood there perplexed until my gaze fell upon a coat hanging by the door. A coat I'd never seen before. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't my apartment. I had walked into the wrong unit on my floor. I quickly closed the refrigerator, my heart pounding. Quietly, I tiptoed back to the door, my face burning with embarrassment. I could only hope no one had heard me. So I tried to be a chef last weekend. I found a recipe online, looked easy, right? Wrong. I started mixing, then realized I forgot to turn the oven on. After 40 minutes, my masterpiece was still raw. To save face, I called it deconstructed cake and told my friends it's the latest food trend. They laughed, I laughed, and we ordered pizza instead. Cooking level still 0. The next day, I decided to give cooking another go. This time, I chose a simple pasta dish that had fewer chances of going wrong. I gathered all the ingredients, determined not to repeat my past mistakes. With the water boiling on the stove, I felt a surge of confidence, thinking, how could this possibly fail? Little did I know the chaos was just beginning. As I dropped the pasta into the pot, I heard a loud splash and suddenly faced a mini water eruption. Panic set in for a brief second as I realized my kitchen was not safe from my culinary skills. I quickly grabbed a spoon to stir the pasta, trying to regain control and prevent a disaster. But all I could think about was how my friends would react if I managed to mess this up too. I tried to train my cat to high-five me. After 3 days, she gave me a look that said, "You work for me, remember?" So instead of training her, I now serve her snacks every time she blinks. Who's the boss? Not me, that's for sure. I live in her house now. Rent is paid in treats. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, being home alone was an adventure. And my favorite pastime was to rummage through my parents' bedroom. One day, while doing that, I found a box of condoms under the bed, and it didn't take me long to figure out what they were for. Even back then, my sharp mind, fascinated with business, made me decide to sell these balloons. I inflated 10 condoms, tied them to a stick, and took to the street shouting my sales slogan, "Oily balloon, oily balloon." My sales ended when Uncle Joe the grocer at the end of the street confiscated my goods. What can I say? You shouldn't block young people's paths, guys. I decided to impress my boss by coming early to work. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., woke up on time, but then my bed started fighting me like a wrestling champion. Every time I tried to get up, it pulled me back down. After a 10-minute battle, I surrendered and went back to sleep. Boss. Yeah, I was late anyway. Mission failed, but at least my bed won. As the sunlight crept in, I realized the time had slipped away. My alarm clock read 6 a.m., but my dreams were just too tempting to resist. Arriving at the office, I could feel my boss's eyes on me, and I knew I had some explaining to do. With my disheveled appearance, I braced myself for the inevitable conversation about punctuality. Sitting at my desk, I felt the weight of my boss's unimpressed gaze, tapping my fingers nervously on the table. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and I glanced at a sticky note reminding me of the importance of time management. I couldn't help but think about the battle I lost against my bed. It felt more like a heavyweight champion had taken a toll on my morning. I was buying some snacks at a local store. The cashier was super friendly, and we chatted while she scanned my items. As she handed me my change, I automatically said, "Love you," like I was talking to a family member. We both froze. She smiled politely. I grabbed my bags and walked out as fast as I could. I still think about it at night. If socks could talk, mine would scream. Every laundry day they disappear mysteriously. I suspect a sock thief lives in my washing machine. Next time I'm installing a security camera. Until then, R.I.P. little socks. We barely knew you. As I stand there, one lonely sock in hand, I can't help but wonder where all its friends have gone. Each wash cycle feels like a heist, crafting a mystery that no detective could solve. Who lurks within the spinning drum, plotting against my precious pairs? My thoughts begin to spiral into a world where socks have secret lives giggling as they slip away into the void. From now on, my laundry room will be a fortress protecting my beloved socks from their unseen nemesis. I decided to impress everyone at the gym today. I tried this fancy new workout move. You know, the one that looks easy but isn't. I bent down to lift the dumbbell, but suddenly my pants split louder than a firecracker. People stopped, stared, then burst out laughing. I turned beet red and made a dramatic bow like, thank you, I'll be here all week. Guess I'm famous now for my pants. Last night I was super tired but still wanted popcorn. I quietly opened the bag and started eating. Suddenly the bag made a loud crunch that sounded like a mini explosion. My cat jumped 3 feet in the air and looked at me like I was the monster. I swear even popcorn can betray you. And now the cat is giving me the cold shoulder. Popcorn 1. Me 0. I tried to reassure my feline friend, but all I got was a dismissive flick of its tail. I mean, how could something so innocent as popcorn cause such a stir? I thought about offering a piece to make amends, but that would just be admitting defeat. As I sat there munching away, I couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of the situation. We were in the middle of a math lesson, and I was trying to get my teacher's attention. I raised my hand and blurted out, "Mom!" The whole class went silent for a second, then burst out laughing. My teacher chuckled and said I didn't know I had another child. I sank into my seat, red as a tomato. Needless to say, I didn't talk for the rest of the lesson. Went on a date and wanted to act cool. Ordered spaghetti to seem fancy. Everything was perfect until I slurped a long noodle, and it flicked sauce right onto my date's white shirt. She looked shocked. I panicked, grabbed my napkin and tried to clean it, but ended up smearing sauce everywhere. I laughed nervously and said, "Well, at least now we have a colorful memory." Spoiler, no second date. I planned the perfect entrance. Confident, smooth, like a movie star walking into the room. I opened the doorstep in fast. Big smile wind in my hair. Then, boom, tripped on the carpet. Instead of striding in, I fell face first. One moment of silence, then everyone bursts out laughing. I'm on the floor, dignity gone. But hey, mission accomplished. I got everyone's attention. The big meeting was underway, and I'd been talking like a true pro with everyone watching intently. Then as I sat down and glanced down at myself, my heart dropped. My zipper was wide open. I had managed to go 10 whole minutes in that state of open fly glory. In a rush, I zipped it up fast, forcing a smile as if nothing had happened. But inside, I was screaming, walking like a movie star. Coffee in hand, sunshine on my face. Then, boom, I tripped. On air. No crack, no rock, just nothing. Arms flying, legs dancing. Coffee survived, but my coolness gone forever. During a Zoom meeting, I thought my camera was off. I started dancing with my cat in my arms. My boss suddenly said, "Nice moves!" I froze like a statue. Turns out the whole team was watching. As I stood there, terror coursing through me, my colleagues erupted into laughter. I wished I could disappear into thin air, but instead I sheepishly put the cat down and tried to play it cool. I rushed out the door for work without looking down. Hours later, I noticed my left foot felt tighter. I looked down and saw I was wearing one black shoe and one blue sneaker. I tried to hide under my desk all day. My coworker finally noticed and shouted, "Nice fashion statement." I wanted to melt into the floor. At least they matched my level of chaos. I tried to flirt with a girl by saying, "Your smile is like a sunshine," but instead I said, "Your smile is like a sunburn." She stared at me, then burst out laughing. I wanted to sink into the floor. After that, I decided to stick to silent admiration instead of talking. I rushed into a bathroom, sat down, done, washed my hands, looked up, and saw a woman staring at me. Oops, I was in the ladies' room. My face turned red like a tomato. I tiptoed out like a scared ninja. Nobody saw me. I hope. So embarrassing. Last week, I decided to try yoga at home. I watched a video and tried to copy the moves. When I reached the downward dog, my cat jumped on my back like a furry backpack. I lost balance and fell over, knocking my phone off the table. The video stopped playing. My cat looked proud and I looked like a clumsy mess. Yoga is now officially cat wrestling in my house. The waiter brought my food, smiled and said, "Enjoy your meal." Without thinking, I smiled back and said, "You too." Then we just stared at each other. He smirked and walked away. I wanted to melt into my seat. The table next to me heard it and couldn't stop laughing. I spent the rest of the meal staring at my plate and avoiding all eye contact. Why am I like this? I tried to be fancy and make a smoothie for breakfast. I put way too many ingredients in: kale, peanut butter, ginger, and even pickles. When I took the first sip, I almost spat it out. It tasted like a garden fight in my mouth. My dog refused to come near me all morning. Next time I'm sticking to banana and milk. Nothing green or weird. I was talking to my friends when I called someone by the wrong name, not just once but 3 times in a row. The person looked confused and I turned red like a tomato. I tried to fix it with a joke, but everyone just laughed even harder. Now I make sure to double-check before speaking. Everyone was talking seriously and I was just trying to survive the last hour without lunch. My stomach had other plans. It roared like a lion in the silence. Everyone turned to me. Some tried not to laugh. Others failed. I smiled and said, "That was my inner voice disagreeing with the budget cuts. I decided to become a gourmet chef overnight. Step 1, boil water. Easy, right? Nope. I forgot the pot on the stove until it started smoking like a bonfire. I frantically poured water on it, making a mess and setting off the smoke alarm. My dog ran out of the kitchen, clearly disgusted. Dinner cereal it was. Because who needs fancy meals when you can have crunchy cornflakes with a side of humiliation? I was on the bus and saw a man lift his arm toward me. I smiled and gave him a big high five. He looked confused. Then I realized he was just stretching and yawning. People around us started laughing. I nodded like I meant to do it and quickly looked out the window, wishing I could disappear into the seat, never taking the bus again. I bought a plant to brighten my room. After 2 weeks of watering, singing, and talking to it, the plant looked worse than me after a night out. I Googled plant therapy and tried everything. Eventually, I accepted that I'm better at talking to people than keeping plants alive. The plant is now my indoor sculpture. I tried online dating and accidentally swiped right on my coworker. The next day, awkwardness filled the air like a bad smell. We laughed it off, but every meeting since feels like a secret mission. Should I say hi or pretend this never happened? Either way, I think I just invented workplace comedy. Every morning I walk into the office, my heart races as I wonder if today will be the day we break the ice. The conversations are stilted, filled with double meanings as we both try to navigate this unexpected twist in our professional lives. My friends keep asking me what's going on, but how can I explain that one swipe changed everything? We were having a nice dinner and I wanted to set a romantic mood. I said, "You're like a burger, crispy outside, tender inside." She looked at me and said, "Do you want to eat me or what?" I wanted to melt into my chair while she laughed non-stop. Romance level crashed and burned. During a job interview, I wanted to appear confident. But when I tried to stand up, my chair got stuck on the table edge and I almost fell. Everyone looked at me in surprise, and I could only laugh awkwardly. The moment made me even more nervous, but I kept going and gave my best. Sometimes little accidents happen at the worst possible time, but they also remind us that we're all human. I wanted to adjust her pillow to make her more comfortable. In my head, I thought, such a caring boyfriend. So I lifted the pillow and smacked her straight in the face. She stared at me and asked, "Did you just try to kill me?" I quickly replied, "It was a love tap." Now I'm banned from the bed. I'm chatting with a new coworker, feeling confident and on the verge of saying something clever, when suddenly a loud "hic" bursts out of me. He stares at me confused, and I can't help but laugh. But the hiccups keep coming, turning this into the worst first impression ever. I wanted to pass through the automatic door with grace, but it wouldn't open, and I stood there feeling foolish. Everyone was looking at me, and I felt trapped like a spinning circus horse. I somehow managed to get inside, but with a huge smile and a flushed face. Who would have thought a door could cause so much trouble? I was sitting at a cafe trying to gather courage to talk to a stranger. Just as I finally got ready to approach her, she suddenly stood up and left. I thought I had a chance, but I was too slow. Later, my friend told me she had been glued to her phone the whole time. Sometimes opportunities just come and go faster than you expect. It's a moment you wish you could take back. But sometimes you're just not at the right place at the right time. During a video call, I thought my microphone was muted, so I started singing out loud. Turns out it wasn't muted, and everyone heard me flatly belting a song about pizza. My colleagues didn't know whether to laugh or ask for an encore. I'm holding my phone while using the toilet. Rookie mistake. I lean forward and splash! It falls right into the bowl. I freeze for a second, then quickly grab it out. As it dries, I promise myself never to bring it into the bathroom again. Until next time. I'm at a cafe and really need to use the restroom. I see a sign, push the door open and walk in. A guy is standing at the mirror and gives me a shocked look. It takes me a second. Then I realize I'm in the men's room. I mumble, "Sorry," rush out bright red, and avoid eye contact with every single person in that cafe for the rest of the day. I gave a guy at the supermarket a compliment on his sweater, saying, "Nice style." He smiled, confused. 10 seconds later, my boyfriend walked out from the next aisle wearing the same sweater. I flirted with the wrong guy. I stood next to my boss at the coffee machine. He said, "So wide awake," I replied, "Thanks. Yes." Then silence. I just nodded and walked away, without even taking coffee. Small talk level disaster. I jumped into the pool feeling cool, until I realized my swim trunks didn't jump with me. They were floating next to me while I stayed underwater panicking. Kids laughed. A lifeguard whistled. I just wanted to vanish. Embarrassment level 1000. In that moment, I felt like the entire world was watching me trapped under the surface of my own humiliation. I walked into a room full of people and waved back at someone who was waving to the person behind me. Everyone saw, and I just stood there waving to no one. A wild night out means staying in, with snacks, pajamas, and documentaries. I meant to text my friend. "This guy is so annoying." And of course, I sent it to that guy. He replied, "I don't know what I did to you, but..." Sorry, I buried myself in my couch. Every morning I greet my plants like they're my roommates. I ask how they slept and tell them they're looking leafy and radiant. I give pep talks to my fern before big meetings and congratulate my cactus for surviving another week. Sometimes I even apologize if I forget to water them. It feels totally normal until someone walks in and catches me mid-conversation with a pothos. But hey, if Beyoncé sings to hers, I'm in good company. Like and comment if your succulents also have names. I wanted to lift heavy weights at the gym to look strong, but grunted so loudly that everyone turned to look. Then I dropped the weights loudly and wanted to disappear. After a few moments of humiliation, I decided to just laugh it off. Before I fall asleep, I imagine fake interviews where I'm wildly successful. Sometimes I'm a famous author or a spy who saved the world. I also rehearse arguments that never happened or practice award speeches. It's my version of a bedtime story, and yes, I always win. I tried to order a fancy cocktail to impress the bartender. I said I'll have a cosmopolitan. When it arrived, I took a sip and immediately made a face because it was too strong. The bartender asked if I liked it, and I said, "Absolutely," while secretly plotting to never drink it again. I wore new white shoes to a party and immediately tripped over the doormat, falling face first into a plant pot. The plant was fine, but my pride was crushed into the floor like a cookie. I love true crime. Obsessed is an understatement. Serial killers while I fold laundry. Courtroom drama on my walk. It's soothing. Weirdly, I missed a high five and ended up slapping my own face in front of a crowd. I tried to laugh it off, but my face was red for hours. I walked through the city feeling truly confident. I smiled at people. A man nodded back, a girl giggled. I thought I looked good today. It was only in the reflection of a shop window that I realized my fly was wide open. I immediately turned around, held my jacket in front, and headed straight home. My heart raced as I rushed back home, feeling the heat of embarrassment creeping up my cheeks. I held the door open for someone who didn't see me and walked past. I stood there like a door-holder ghost, wondering if they noticed it was so awkward that I tried to wave her off and make it look intentional, but they kept walking without a word. I finally closed the door and walked away, feeling like the invisible man. I have a fake sick voice. It's raspy, slightly dramatic. I use it when people invite me out, because sometimes socializing sounds worse than a stomach bug. I was at a party and met someone I hadn't seen in a while. When they asked how I was, I froze because I couldn't remember their name. I tried to avoid saying anything, but the longer I stayed quiet, the more awkward it got. Finally, I had to ask, "What was your name again?" My face turned bright red. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension, as I wished for the floor to swallow me up. The other person chuckled and kindly reminded me of their name, easing the embarrassment just a little. I could feel the warmth radiating from my cheeks as I tried to play it cool, making a mental note never to let it happen again. I was at the grocery store and saw a woman with a big belly. Trying to be friendly, I asked, "When is your baby due?" She looked surprised, then laughed and said, "It's not a baby, just too much pasta." I felt so embarrassed. I quickly apologized and walked away fast. Note to self, never assume anything. I have this absurd secret belief that traffic lights are actually communicating with me personally. When a light turns green just as I approach, it's a tiny fist bump from the universe, a silent acknowledgement that I'm on the right path. If it turns yellow right before I get there, it's a gentle nudge to slow down, maybe to appreciate the scenery, or avoid a rogue squirrel. And if I hit every single red light well, that's clearly the universe telling me to stop, breathe, and reevaluate my life choices, probably hinting that I should have stayed in bed. I sometimes find myself muttering thanks or apologies to them depending on their mood. It's a ridiculous habit, I know, but it makes the mundane commute a little more interesting, like I'm having a clandestine conversation with the urban infrastructure. And honestly, they're probably more understanding than most people I talk to on the road. I thought I could multitask like a champ. I joined a video call while checking emails while sipping coffee. Bad idea. I knocked the coffee over my keyboard. My screen froze, my coworkers stared, and I panicked like a squirrel on espresso. Now I only do one thing at a time. I once pretended to be asleep on the couch so I wouldn't have to help my roommate carry groceries upstairs. She yelled my name and even poked me. But I stayed frozen like I was in a coma. She gave up and did it herself. The guilt lasted until she dropped a watermelon on her foot. I still didn't move. Now she tells the story every time we have guests, and I still fake a yawn and say, I don't remember anything. The case of the missing socks. Honestly, I'm pretty sure my washing machine is sentient and harbors a deep-seated grudge against footwear. Every laundry day it devours at least one sock, sometimes two if it's feeling particularly peckish. I've tried everything, pairing them before, washing, buying only identical socks, even whispering sweet nothings to the appliance. Nothing works. I'm starting to suspect there's an entire dimension behind the lint trap, a sock Narnia where all the lost souls gather for an annual rave. One day I swear I'm going to open that door and find a tiny argyle-clad cult performing a ritual sacrifice to the dryer gods, and when that day comes, I'll finally get my mismatched socks back, even if they smell vaguely of dryer sheets and existential dread. It's a tragic love story, really, between a human and her perpetually single socks. I bought a full set of gym clothes, including matching leggings and a headband, but I only wear them on the couch while eating chips. Once a delivery guy saw me and said, "Nice hustle." I told him I just finished leg day. He looked impressed. The only thing I exercised was my jaw. I planned my own surprise party because I didn't trust my friends to do it right. I made a fake email to organize everything and practiced my surprised face in the mirror. When the party happened, I burst in yelling, "Oh my God, I had no idea everyone was confused how it was so perfect. I'm not proud, but it was the best party I ever threw for myself." I still Google how to boil eggs every time. I never remember if I start the timer when the water boils or when I put them in. I once printed a chart and taped it to the fridge, but it disappeared, maybe on purpose. Now my eggs are always a surprise, either raw or crumbly. Each time I try, it's like a game of chance that I never seem to win. And my friends find it hard to believe that boiling eggs can be so complicated for me. They laugh and tease me about my egg cooking skills, while I can only sigh and promise to get it right next time. I was walking to the front of the classroom to give a presentation. Suddenly I tripped on my shoelace and fell down. Everyone laughed and I felt so embarrassed. I quickly got up and finished my talk. As I stood up, I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks, but I took a deep breath and refocused on my notes. I was scrolling through my ex's profile like a ninja, checking stories, zooming in on someone's arm to guess if it was a new partner. Suddenly I realized I had accidentally liked a 3-year-old photo. My heart stopped. I tried to unlike it fast, but the damage was done. 2 minutes later, I got her in my DMs. I panicked and replied, "Oops, cat walked on my phone. I don't even own a cat." The next day, she posted a story with a cat emoji and the caption, "Careful where your paws land." I deleted Instagram for a week. Last weekend, I tried impressing my date by cooking dinner. Everything went well until I realized I forgot to turn off the stove. Smoke alarm started screaming. I ran around waving a towel, but in the chaos I tripped and fell right onto her lap. Her laughter turned into a gasp when she said, "Well, that's one way to heat things up." I was red as a tomato and she kept teasing me all night about my hot moves. Guess I should stick to takeout next time. Or maybe just dancing. Once in high school, I raised my hand confidently to answer a math question. I stood up and started speaking, but then I realized I had absolutely no idea what I was saying. I panicked and randomly said, "The answer is triangle." Everyone stared. My teacher blinked and said, "This is algebra, not geometry." The class laughed and I slowly sat down like I'd been unplugged. To this day, some people still call me Triangle in group chats. Not my proudest academic moment. I was at the gym trying a new machine. I sat down and pulled something that looked like a handle. Suddenly, a loud alarm went off. Everyone turned to look at me. Turns out I had pulled the emergency stop switch, not the exercise handle. A trainer came running over and said, "That's not for working out." I mumbled something and ran to the locker room, pretending I had an urgent call. I haven't touched that machine since. I still get flashbacks every time I see it. I was giving a presentation in class and accidentally said orgasm instead of organism while discussing biology. The class erupted in laughter, and I turned bright red. I tried to carry on, but every time I said organism, someone giggled. It was the longest presentation of my life. I walked out of the bathroom with toilet paper still in my hand when I suddenly realized that the toilet paper was stuck all over my body like a cape. My housemates couldn't stop laughing as I tried to hide behind a towel, but the paper just wouldn't let go. It wasn't a heroic moment, rather a hilarious disaster that I'll never forget. Every time I enter the bathroom now, I wonder if I should make a toilet paper cape to make everyone laugh, or just practice not losing the toilet paper again in peace. While taking my friend with a high fever to the clinic, he opened one eye and said, "Damn, I'm wearing grandma-style underwear. I hope they don't give me an injection." My loneliness got so bad that when booking a dental appointment online, I searched the dentist's names on social media and chose the prettiest one. This can't end well. One day I was helping my little cousin hide during a game of hide-and-seek. I thought the perfect spot was inside a big old chest in the attic. I climbed in to show him how safe it was, but when I tried to get out, the lid slammed shut. I was stuck inside and my cousin forgot where I was hiding. I banged and shouted for help, but no one heard. After what felt like forever, my aunt finally opened the chest, only to find me red-faced, stuck and covered in old clothes. Definitely the most embarrassing hide-and-seek ever. I've become so addicted to cigarettes that I caught myself lighting a cigarette while vaping with my e-cigarette. Yesterday I tried to fix my bike's tire. I watched a video online and felt confident. But when I tried, I couldn't get the tire off. After an hour of struggle, I was tired and dirty. My neighbor came to help and did it in 5 minutes. If you don't want to lose your driver's license, first of all, don't drive under the influence. Let's say you did, then you should at least know where the police checkpoints are. If you don't know and get stopped, don't run away. Let's say you ran. Don't leave your car and run. Let's say you left your car and ran. Don't leave your license and run. Let's say you messed up and did all of these things. I get it. But my friend, what kind of nonsense is it to report to the police? My car was stolen. That I just don't understand. I went to a job interview feeling super confident. I wore my best shirt, practiced my answers, and even arrived early. When I entered the room, I smiled at the woman behind the desk and said, "Hi, I'm here to ruin your life." I meant to say I'm here to run through my life experience, but nerves took over. Her eyes widened. "Excuse me," she said. I laughed nervously and tried to explain, but my brain froze. Then I knocked over her water glass while gesturing. It spilled all over her notebook. I offered to clean it with my saw. At a wedding, I was dancing with full confidence. The floor was packed, music loud, lights flashing. I pulled out my signature move, a weird spin thing I saw on TikTok. Right then, my shoe flew off, like launched into the air and hit the groom's aunt in the face. She screamed, dropped her drink, and the DJ stopped the music. Everyone turned to look at me. I stood there with one sock showing red-faced. I walked over, apologized, and she said, "You've got quite the kick," and handed me my shoe. But for the rest of the night, at the gym, I wanted to use the treadmill like a pro. I set the speed too high because I thought I could handle it. As soon as it started, I lost balance and flew off the back. People gasped and then burst out laughing. I stood up, brushed myself off, and tried to laugh too, but my face was bright red. Maybe next time I'll start slow and avoid making a scene. I was texting my friend about a guy I liked, saying how cute he was. Instead of sending it to her, I accidentally sent it to him. Realizing my mistake, I panicked and tried to play it cool by saying, "Oops, meant to send that to someone else." He replied, "Glad to know you think I'm cute." I was embarrassed, but it turned into a fun conversation. My first job interview was going great, until they asked if I wanted water. Trying to be polite, I said, "Sure, just a small glass." They handed me a tiny espresso cup filled with water. I panicked, thinking it was a test, and tried to sip it seriously. Ended up dribbling half of it down my shirt like a toddler. I said I loved horror movies to impress someone, but when we watched one 10 minutes in, I screamed and threw popcorn. They stayed calm while I hid behind a pillow. I claimed I laughed at horror, but ended up crying, having nightmares for days, and they never asked for a movie night again. My girlfriend didn't like the charcoal portrait I drew of her. I said, honey, I did my best, but the material I have is just not good enough. I meant the pencil and eraser, but she had already broken up with me before I could explain. A woman in a nature park in China gets out of the car after arguing with her husband and is instantly eaten by a tiger. His mother-in-law follows and suffers the same fate. As we watched the news, my friend said, "Wow, that guy literally lived every man's dream." I planned the perfect entrance. Confident, smooth, like a movie star walking into the room. I opened the doorstep in fast. Big smile wind in my hair. Then, boom, tripped on the carpet. Instead of striding in, I fell face first. One moment of silence, then everyone bursts out laughing. I'm on the floor, dignity gone. But hey, mission accomplished. I got everyone's attention. My phone decided to record a voicemail from my pocket, and of course I was trash-talking my boss with a friend. Full drama mode. The message sent straight to my boss. He replied, "Well, that was insightful." Now he smiles at me like we share a little secret. Send help. When my friend tried to measure the height of the book, he laid 4 fingers from both hands, excluding the thumbs, side by side with the palms facing up and said, "Let's measure this way, that is 14 centimeters. What could he have measured with a ruler to know that this is 14 centimeters? I am a lawyer by profession. Naturally, I am always at courthouses. But the person I've known for 10 years and been married to for 8 still reacts with shock and fear whenever I say, "I'm at the courthouse," or "I'm going to court," and asks, "Is everything okay?" I'm going crazy. Always the same question. When I first tried cooking, I wanted to impress my family with a fancy dinner. I followed the recipe carefully, but didn't realize that chili meant chili powder, not an entire fresh chili pepper. After eating, my little brother ran around the house breathing fire like a dragon, and my mom had water running down her arms from trying to put out the fire. I learned 2 things that day: always read the recipe twice, and never trust your brother to stay calm around spicy food. My plant isn't thriving because I keep forgetting to water it, then overwatering it out of guilt. It's a cycle of neglect and drowning. I think it prefers the neglect, honestly. Poor little guy. I stand there puzzled and concerned, trying to figure out how. I secretly judge people who put ketchup on a hot dog before the mustard. It's an unspoken rule of the universe, and I'm a stickler for culinary etiquette, even if it's just in my head. I once convinced my younger cousin that carrots would make him see in the dark just so he'd eat his vegetables. He still tries to read books in dimly lit rooms after eating carrots. I feel a tiny bit bad, but his eyesight is great. I've perfected the art of looking busy at work by strategically opening multiple tabs and frowning intently at my screen. Most of the time, I'm just watching cat videos or planning my weekend. My boss thinks I'm a dedicated employee. I pretend to understand complex philosophical debates by nodding sagely and using words like paradigm and dichotomy. In reality, I'm just trying to keep up and desperately hoping no one asks me to elaborate. I was walking down the hallway and saw my crush smiling. He lifted his hand and waved in my direction. My heart did a little backflip. I waved back with both hands like a golden retriever. Then a girl behind me giggled and said hi to him. I slowly lowered my arms. I turned around and pretended I was stretching. Inside, I was already digging a hole to crawl into. I was making a smoothie at home. My phone was on the counter, music playing. I accidentally tapped the live button. I had no idea I was broadcasting. I started yelling because the blender got stuck. I called it stupid and said words my grandma would disown me for. A friend messaged me, "You okay? You're live." I ended it instantly. But 17 people saw the whole thing, including my ex. My biggest fear isn't heights or spiders. It's accidentally sending a work email with a typo in the subject line. I was on a Zoom meeting eating chips secretly. Someone asked me a question. I panicked and tried to mute the crunch. Instead, I turned on my camera. They saw me mid-bite with chip crumbs on my shirt. My boss said, "Everything all right there?" I muted myself and never spoke again that day. I was waiting all day for my food. When the delivery guy arrived, I rushed to the door in pajamas. I grabbed the bag, smiled, and said thanks. Then I said "love you" out of habit, like I was talking to my mum. He paused for a second and said, "Love you too." I shut the door and screamed into a pillow. Next time I ordered, I used a fake name. I was at a party trying to impress someone. They told a joke and I laughed. Then I accidentally snorted. Everyone laughed harder, so I laughed more. Then I snorted again. Someone imitated the snort. Now I'm officially the pig girl from that party. I was telling my cousin how annoying our aunt can be. I went all in with impressions, said she talks like a parrot. Then I heard someone clear their throat. She was standing right behind me, holding a tray of cookies. She offered me one. It tasted like guilt and regret. I was in a rush to get ready. I grabbed the toothbrush on the sink. I brushed my teeth like a champion. Then I noticed mine was still in the drawer. I used my sister's. Too late to fix anything. I rinsed it extra well and put it back. She still smiles at me with those clean teeth. I was so excited for the school trip I got dressed in a rush. I didn't notice my shirt was on backwards. It was one of those with a big print on the back. The teacher kept giving me confused looks. I thought it was because I looked cool. By lunchtime, someone finally told me. I turned it around in the bathroom and acted like nothing happened. But the class took a group photo before that. Now my backwards shirt lives forever in the yearbook. I wanted my hamster to go camping too. I used my older sister's pads to build him a tent. They were soft and stuck well. I thought they were high-tech materials. I even cut out a little door. When my sister saw it, she nearly passed out. She screamed like I destroyed a family heirloom. My mom could barely stay serious. My hamster never even slept in it, but the tent was really cozy. I kept it until he died. I thought toothpaste was magical. It was minty cool and it stung a little. So I decided to use it as dream protection. I smeared it on my forehead, then on my eyelids. It started burning immediately. I screamed like a banshee. My parents thought I fell out of bed. When they saw the bathroom, they were speechless. I stood there with foam on my face like a tiny mint zombie. I read somewhere that bubbles can go in your tummy. I thought if you drank it, you'd fart bubbles. I was 6. I took a big sip. It tasted disgusting, but I committed. Then I lay in bed crying with stomach pain. My mom thought I swallowed something toxic. When she heard why, she started laughing. I didn't find it funny. I never looked at bubble solution again. Pure trauma. My uncle had a huge CD collection. I wanted to surprise him. I thought CDs were like flowers. If you watered them, more would grow. I secretly put 12 of his favorite albums in a bucket, then poured water all over them. 2 hours later, everything was scratched and warped. I said the cat did it. We didn't have a cat. My uncle stayed quiet. I think he cried inside. Days passed, and I watched him carefully handling the remnants of his cherished albums. Each time he played a different record, I felt a pang of guilt. I was totally in love with my Barbie. Not like other kids. I actually wanted to marry her. I made her a dress out of tissues, a ring from a bent paperclip. I forced my sister to do the wedding speech. I said I do, and imagined she did too. Then I danced with her. My mum walked in on us. I said it was a school project. I never looked at Barbie the same again. The sunlit garden became our magical place, and as I danced with Barbie, I imagined we were celebrating our love. That was until my mum walked in, her eyes wide with disbelief, wondering what school project would involve such an unusual scene. I meant to text my ex after a long night out. I typed, "I miss you. Still think about you." My phone autofilled my boss's number. I pressed send without checking. The reply came in 2 minutes later. "Glad you're committed to the job." I screamed into my pillow. The next morning, he made a joke during our team meeting. I laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. Inside, I died 5 times. I met a girl at a bookstore and she smelled amazing. I panicked and tried to compliment her. I said, "You smell like my mom's perfume." She stared at me in horror. I tried to fix it by saying, "That's a good thing." It only got worse. She slowly backed away like I was contagious. I left the bookstore and never returned. Now I avoid compliments like the plague. And my mom still wears that perfume. I was talking to my friend about someone annoying from work. I screenshotted the convo to show how petty they were. Then I accidentally sent it to that exact person. They replied with, "Wow, good to know." My soul left my body. I tried to unsend it, but it was too late. I typed an apology that sounded like a legal statement. They never replied. Now every time I send a screenshot, I pray 3 times. Lesson learned the hard way. We were sitting side by side on the bus. I had a sneeze building for 10 minutes. I tried to hold it back like a hero. Then it exploded, right on her arm. She froze and looked down. A tiny piece of gum I had been chewing flew out. It landed on her sleeve like a sticker. I tried to wipe it and made it worse. She changed seats and I changed my dream. I was 5 and found a bra in the laundry. It had padding and looked soft. I wore it on my face like Batman. I ran around the house shouting, "Bra man to the rescue." My aunt came in with her phone already recording. She posted it to the family group chat. I became a meme at my own birthday. Everyone now calls me Bra man during holidays. Even my grandma joins in. I will never live it down. I saw my crush across the hall during break. I thought pretending to faint would get her attention. I did a dramatic slow fall, but I misjudged the angle. I smacked the ground like a fish. Everyone gathered around, but no one was impressed. A teacher ran over with a juice box. My crush said, "Is he okay?" and walked away. I got a Band-Aid and a bruised ego. Never acted again.